Hey you guys, I wanted to come in and share out of the book of Esther. Some of y'all know that I'm doing an Esther fast, and God has just been stirring me up in the secret place like crazy. I'm going to read a little bit out of the Bible, and then I took some notes that I'm just going to, Lord wanted me to share some stuff on, and then I'm going to let him flow through some of my testimony and then jump back into the book of Esther. So it says, standing in the gap for a nation. This is another fabulous story that is not a fable at all, but a critical history. How one godly girl stood in the gap to halt the destruction of her entire nation. This is the only book in the Bible besides the Song of Solomon, another great love story where God is never mentioned, yet he is there in every chapter, the silent director of all history's greatest movies. There are familiar themes in this script: an orphan adopted by a kind relative, a king with power over life and death held in the scepter of his hand, an offender, a rejected queen who took her power for granted and lost her royal place by not keeping a grateful, honoring heart, and a great kingdom search for a new princess, and a wicked villain set out to destroy not only a hated personal rival, but all his race. What we could learn from Esther: regardless of circumstances, seek God and surrender to him. If an enemy crosses his purposes for his people, too bad for the enemy and his plans. Haman made a major mistake. He took his offended ego and pet peeve to the level of attempting to eliminate what is a personal project of God for salvation and for the whole world. All great breakthrough in revival history have found Genesis in the same situation. A people robbed and spoiled under a Babylon captivity. Powerful rulers embodying spiritual wickedness in high places out of hatred and pride. Determined to destroy and forever eliminate the remnant of God. A faithful seer who saw the true situation was able to sound the note of a warning. A brave and called, chosen bride, beautiful with preparation to please the king, stood up on the behalf of her endangered people and goes to him at the risk of her own life. You could say that. And to ask favor and mercy. But is it the Lord, the only one who has the power to grant? Here also are all the other elements of a critical spiritual mass: a desperate situation, determination, and at least 2 or 3 gathered together, fasting, courage, a true servant's heart, willing to go beyond the expected, the ordinary, and the legally acceptable, and the utter dependence on the mercy of the King of Kings. Esther is a summary and a story of all the real reasons why revival touches human history. The only explanation of how we may live when everything else points to utter destruction. We do not stand as far as the story as we think. The word of good old Mordecai is a word to us also. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise from the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come into the kingdom for such a time as this. Esther 4:14, baby. So now I'm going to jump here back. So I was teaching on avoidant attachments, right? And I was talking about how I had a fearful one. And I have some more I'm going to share on that. And then I'm going to let the Holy Spirit flow. So I wrote down rejection and bitterness, okay? Can you change a disorganized attachment style? There are ways to heal, and it is important to do so for yourself and for your loved ones and eventually for your children. A disorganized attachment style can cause a lot of distress and confusion when it comes to social interactions and intimacy. It can harm your relationships and lead you to lose someone you really want in your life. Being around or with someone with this attachment style, it's also challenging. The unpredictability, suspicion, and lack of trust from that individual can be hurtful and frightening. Simply avoid proximity will not heal the trauma or the painful childhood experiences you have had. In order to learn to build secure relationships, you need to learn to trust God and let Him heal you so you could trust people again. Oh. Pain is suffering. It could cause physical and mental, emotional and spiritual suffering, which affects every part of our stories. Whether we know it or not, admit it or not, pain is there and it is relentless. So, as y'all know about my story, a lot of my testimony, and there's still a lot that I need to share because it's just very long and wild. I've had a lot of pain and trauma, right? And because I was rejected at birth, and then all this witchcraft stuff, and just a lot of pain, and from my childhood on through abusive relationships, and me choosing to do drugs and then pretty much abusing myself. And it was just a cycle of chaos, right? Well, I have a testimony. I think it's is it the first one on my YouTube? No, it's my one. It's not on my videos, but it's when you scroll down in my post. And it's a guy named Kevin from Oregon. He was raised up under Bill Johnson. He came all the way from Oregon to prophesy over us at Kingdom Warriors. And he prophesied over me at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Like, he was there for hours prophesying over people. And he saved me and Jimmy and Linda for the last. And he said that he said a whole lot. Go watch it if you want to. It's really good. And at the end, he said to trust my mother and father, and that if they see something of me bucking them or the Lord, it's because there's some mistrust in my life. Well, let's just, to say the least, we didn't get to that part, and it took years. I was still in ministry, and then I fell. Then I went out for years and went back to the very abuse, where I was delivered from. And it's been this ongoing cycle of chaos, confusion, pain, bitterness, rejection. And I've been fighting in this war. And for the longest time, not knowing I was in a war, because I was veiled. And then when I started to become aware, when I got saved in 2015, I got a lot of deliverance the first 2 years, but what never happened was healing. Deliverance is great. Casting out the demons are amazing, right? But you have to heal the wounds from the demons. Because if not, guess what's going to happen? They're going to come back. Because if you don't heal, you're going to go back in a cycle to what you're used to what's familiar. And guess what? It comes back 7 times worse. So it's just you're making a bigger and bigger and bigger wound, And it took 10 years of me walking with the Lord, of me falling. But a righteous man falls 7 times, but he gets back up 8, right? Lord, I love how God speaks. And so, sorry, y'all. They're trying to break into my phone. They always be lurking and watching the girl, So anyway, but I forgive y'all. So, Holy Spirit, where was I? Because they threw me off for a second. So yeah, it's just like this vicious cycle, right? So it took years, and for me learning after falling so many times, I learned a lot. And the enemy used my falls, which was a lot of warfare coming against me and people not understanding the warfare, the call on my life or the purpose. I got hurt from people that, and from myself. I'm not just blaming like family abusive relationships or people in the church that didn't understand my warfare and what was going on with me. And I felt shunned or isolated out of the church at times. And because some of them tried to help, and when I would try to explain, and it was just a whole lot of stuff. But God, God sees and He knows, because He knows who I am. I'm His daughter, and He knew I would go through all of this. He saw it all, and beginning to end. And but I had to go through all of this, and I finally was awakened to so much truth this last year. And well, they're trying to break into it. So this year was the most awakening that I ever had, and I had to, and I saw a lot of hard, scary truths of my life that I didn't see, that the Lord revealed to me as a young girl and throughout my life, and what was going on of the grooming and being in the occult, and keeping me bitter. And so, and was started off with rejection first, then the fear, then the bitterness. And so I love the book of Esther, how Esther had to go through these beauty treatments, right? She was an orphan, raised under Mordecai, and then thrown into a Persian palace to meet, to be selected as a queen with a Persian king who she did not know. It was not her people, right? So you could understand the fear just in that, and had to feel all types of different things, like being a survivalist at times. And I love about the beauty treatments how it talks about the first 6 months was with myrrh, the oil. And it says for the first 6 months, the women were treated with myrrh and oil, which is a thought that they had both to be cleansing and beautifying properties, right? And of course, back in the day, years ago, I looked up the meaning of the word myrrh, and it stands for bitter. Go figure. And how I told y'all that my name is Elizabeth Marie, and my name Elizabeth is an oath to God, a promise, a true worshiper of Yah, God in His abundance. And my middle name Marie means bitter. And I didn't get the revelation till a couple months ago that my name was a setup, which the first one was godly, which was great. But the second was, it was an oath and a promise to be bitter, a demonic oath. And I finally broke it off of me from fasting and praying like Esther, and being in the secret place, going to the King of Glory, and dealing with this bitterness that has been in my heart from trauma, from fear, from confusion, from abuse, not only from the hands of others and the enemy, the church, but myself. And I learned that I have to get this out of my heart. Like I said, I don't want to bring my past pain and trauma into my future. But the neat thing is, God would never allow me to. And I'm grateful for that. And it's just like, what am I doing right now in the waiting? I'm worshiping, and I'm working on myself. I'm doing the hard work to allow the Lord to bring me to these places and show me these things. Because if I would have never been aware and awaking to what happened to me as a young girl, and to finally get the revelation and the knowledge of what's been going on my whole life, if I wouldn't awaken to it, I would have went into things, into seasons, not healed. And like I said, I don't want to bring my past trauma and wounds into my future, and He never wanted me to either. And then now I'm in a place of gratitude, even through all these things. When I got mad at God, and Lord knows, forgive me when I laughed at some of the promises, Lord, forgive me. He was he used all of this to awaken me, because it was in his timing for me to be awakened, but it was my job to come into the secret place and do the work with him, because only the Holy Spirit and Jesus can heal. But we have to be aware of the wounds and the trauma and see the bitterness and the hardness of heart, the heart of stone to become a heart of flesh again, so we can be propelled into our future. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. And the perfumes are another 6 months to focus on using the perfumes to further and enhance your appearance. Yes. And as I read it, I was thinking, when we think about, let's just say marriage, because this is a book about Esther marrying the king. Yeah, of course we want to look cute and work on ourselves, like our physique and the beauty on the outside. And, I, I had to get back right, because I've allowed sin to come in and I didn't take care of myself. And, but I thought about it. I first had to start doing the work on the inside. And then once I started doing the work on the inside, I wanted to take care of my outside, because I started to want to love me, because he loves me. And I know some people, there was times when I worked out, y'all, and I was ripped back in the day, but I still didn't love me. So what good is that? Beauty won't last forever, but a woman that fears the Lord, that's true beauty. And when you do the inner work and you get in the secret place with the Lord, you shine, and there's a glory that rises upon you, and it's the Lord's beauty. And there's nothing like that. That's why when they talked about Sarah and Rebecca in their old age, they were still beautiful, but they served the Lord. And were they perfect? No. Was I perfect? No. Was even Esther perfect? No. The only one ever perfect was Jesus, but they were all in relationship with the King. The purpose, the extensive preparation aimed to purify and beautify the women, making them more appealing to the King. We can't get, Jesus